Time to speak to a legend of the West Country, panto writer and performer, Andy Ford. Good afternoon, Andy.
Paris, hello, lover. What a sad day this is.
It is a sad day. And actually, before we go on, I've got to say, Andy, we were talking off air just now, and you are suffering with a bit of a heavy cold. So I really appreciate you coming on to talk about this today, Andy.
That's all right. I just don't want to cough all over your listeners. I'll do my best, mate.
Oh, bless you, bless you. Listen, you've heard some of the tributes there, some of the greatest moments from Paul O'Grady. What are your thoughts this afternoon, Andy?
Well, listening to that, you realise what an incredible talent this man had. Versatile as well. I mean, we're more or less the same age. He's a year older than me. So we both grew up with the only female impersonator you'd ever see on TV or stage was someone like Danny LaRue. And Danny LaRue was safe in as much as he played on the fact it was a man in drag. Whereas when Lily came on the scene, it blew everyone away because it was a woman. And it was a rude, crass northern woman who hit the alternative comedy scene at exactly the right time. Absolutely perfect for Channel 4. Absolutely perfect for Channel 4. Ergo, some sections of society find it difficult to fall in love with Lily. You know, not seeing past the comedy, just hearing the rude words or whatever. But then you get that fantastic transition that Paul did, removing the frock and becoming everyone's friend. I mean, it was that transition is really difficult to do, you know, because Lily Savage wasn't, you know, never hit her light under a bushel. She was a massive, great star. So suddenly we had to love this new character whose name was Paul, who was obviously from the same area as Lily, but loved his variety shows and music from the past, as he would play on his Radio 2 show, which was just adorable. And he was one of us. So we went from scaring you to death and making you laugh to being your best mate. What a brilliant transition. A genuinely lovely person. I just wish I'd had the chance to work with him in panto. He was one of the people that I thought one day, it never happened. I did work with him once, and that was very briefly on a show called The Big Breakfast on Channel 4.
Oh, yes.
And he was one of the hosts of it, and I was being featured because I'd written a song about Frank Bruno at the time. He just won the World Championship. So I was on there singing my song to Frank, and I met Paul, and he was just lovely and encouraging. And from people that have met him, I used to talk to Barbara Windsor when I was in the dressing room in Bristol when we did our panto together. She loved him, Paris. She absolutely adored him. And she kept saying to me, you'll love him. If you get the chance of working with him, you'll love him. To me, he was almost born too late because his personality and TV persona with Lily and without would have been perfect for the Carry On films that Barbara starred in the 60s. But of course, that wasn't around then. But he was great. He knew what he was doing, a brilliant comedian, but also was so confident with the success that he had that he allowed himself to open himself up to the whole of the British public and just be him. He was lovely. He loved the old songs. We loved the old songs. He loved dogs. We loved dogs. He was just your friend. It's such a sad day. And he's a one-off, you know.
Yeah. And like you say, a very, very brave thing to do at the time with Lily Savage, Andy, you know. I mean, and he kind of just went for it. And I remember at the time people sort of raising their eyebrows a little bit. But he went for it at a time when maybe a lot of kind of mainstream television was going in a completely different direction.
Yeah, well, he'd reached, let me put it this way, I think he'd reached that, like I did, reached that moment in your life when you love the business, you love what you do, but really, and as I've got older, my comedy's done this, you just become you. You just talk about the stuff that you do in your life, you make it funny, you make it comedic, you add gags there, but you talk about you. And he'd gone from the facade of Lily, which was genius, to being the real man, Paul, that we saw in front of us and listened to every day. And that was brilliantly clever, very, very brave, and, as I say, made us love him even more.
Interestingly enough, Andy, his transition to his radio show, and it's a shame if no one ever heard him on his Radio 2 program, was fantastic, because he sort of almost relaxed and kind of just took a step back from it all. He still had that viciously sharp wit, but he just came across as so amiable and calm, and had a very sort of soft, kind of soulful way of speaking to you on the radio.
It was like he was sitting next to you having a cup of tea while he was doing the radio show. You can't put a price on that, you know. And for people that are outside of our business, perhaps, it doesn't seem a difficult thing to do, to be completely natural and homely and relaxed, and as if you're having a one-on-one conversation. But it's a great skill, and he had it in spades. He was just lovely to listen to. I mean, hearing him play Gracie Fields, and then, you know, I love to go wandering along the mountain top. I mean, it was just lovely. And as I say, we're only a year apart, myself and Paul, so his memories were my memories. And there was a lot of my age group listening to him. And isn't that brilliant when you think of just a few years earlier, it was the alternative comedy scene people that were loving him. And then suddenly to move across to probably 70, 80% of the British public saying, he's our guy. That's great. What a talent.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for speaking in such a lovely way, an illuminating way about Paul O'Grady. I'll let you get back to your lem sips and your chicken soup. Thanks very much for coming on the show today, Andy.
It was a pleasure and an honour to talk about such a great comedian.
Thank you so much. That's Andy Ford, their legendary West Country panto writer and performer.